I give 99.9% credit to my wife. She did all my scheduling. She organized all my shots. She did all my orders.
Teamwork. That's the theme of today's episode. Today's guest, Jennifer Osmond, is going to share how she and her wife supported each other and received support from others on their path to parenthood. I'm Dan Bulger with Progyny, and this is Infertility. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of This is Infertility, where we share people's personal experiences with fertility and family building. Before we dive into this thrilling story of teamwork and family building, I just want to take a second to remind you that we have some resources available for anyone who might want to bring fertility and family benefits to their employer at progyny.com/talktohr. Most employers that offer these benefits do so because an employee asked for it, so take advantage of our resources and help bring these life-changing benefits to your employer. As I said at the top of the episode today, we're going to get to know Jennifer and her experience with infertility, so let's dive in.
My name's Jennifer Osmond. I'm 33 years old, originally from Southampton, England. Moved over to the United States when I was 18 and started working for AT&T when I was 23.
Jennifer actually misspoke there a little bit, and it was tricky to edit it, so I just kind of left it in. She was actually 27 years old when she started working at AT&T, not 23. But the point remains, she's been at AT&T for a while now. You might be wondering why we even left that in at all, and, well, we did it because it's actually quite relevant. See, this story is a story of teamwork, and her team includes her wife, her fertility doctor, and the entire team at the clinic, and it includes her employer, AT&T, who provided the fertility benefit that helped make much of this possible. But let's take a step back and start when Jennifer met the woman who would become her wife.
My twin was here in Memphis, Tennessee, and she was friend with my wife now, and I was coming up to visit her as she was in college doing her master's at the time, and I was living in Alabama. And so in that time period, I came up here, visited, we met, and then from there we decided that we started chatting and meeting up more and more often, and that's when we got together. And then I think it was 3 years after that we got married, and then we started talking about our opportunities and having a family.
For Jennifer and her wife, family building was going to require some help, and they decided that the best way for them to build their family was through IUI, intrauterine insemination. But to move ahead with IUI, they first needed to work with a sperm bank.
Yeah, so we signed up for originally signed up for an account with California Cryobank, and that's who we used for our IUI. You sign up, you pay your monthly subscription with them. I then did some genetic testing. Once I got the genetic testing back, I knew what donors I could and couldn't have. They let you put that in there, and they find matches based on that. You then pick. You then go through if you genetics of their own hair, eyes, and you can look at their backgrounds. As far as pictures, you only see baby pictures, and you can do open or closed, which means they can have contact after 18 years old.
They were able to match with the donor and were ready to dive into IUI with the help of their OBGYN.
So we talked about IUI first, and we spoke with the doctor. She was happy to do it. We did some tests. We did tracking. A lot of it was done on our own. So we did 3 IUIs, and after the third is when she sent the referral over to the IVF clinic.
Compared to IVF, the IUI process tends to be a little bit easier on people going through it. But still, 3 cycles of IUI with no success isn't easy on anyone.
The biggest challenge was always the no's. Going through and then a lot of it was tracking yourself. So you're tracking your ovulation. You're tracking when you're going to go. You're making phone calls. You're scheduling yourself. You're trying to keep up with work and the appointments, because you can't miss the day that you need to go in there. So you have to stay very routine, very structured. You have to know your dates. You have to know your body. Compared to IVF, IUI isn't as high a chance. Success rate, that's the word I'm looking for. So, the first time, the doctor said, hey, it might be your body getting used to it. The second time, she was like, that's your second time. And then the third, so it's a hit or miss. The third time, she was like, we've got to start looking at maybe doing some more enhanced testing because it's not taking. And we've done everything the same the last 3 months in a row. So that's when I chose to then go to the IVF, Memphis fertility clinic, and immediately they said, hey, first and foremost, let's do some ultrasounds. Let's see if your tubes are clear. And they did three tests before we even started talking about the process of IVF.
The tests at the fertility clinic came back with some information that might inform why IUI wasn't working.
So I ended up, after I had my ultrasound with the IVF clinic, they ended up finding I have endometriosis stage 3, which affected my chances only 10%. So he was young. He said, you can have a hysterectomy to fix it, or you can continue with IVF. He said your chances are only 10% less than anybody else without it. He said, I'm very confident, I'm very happy to continue the process with you, and as long as you guys know that I'm here for you, we're good to go. And left the ball in our court. We spoke about it very quickly. We said we know our chances are slightly lower, but we're willing to go through this together.
Okay, so they decided to move ahead with IVF, and it's here where her Progyny benefit from her employer, AT&T, really came up big.
Breaking down my insurance, they covered 90% of the cost, which is a significant amount. They also offered payment plans. They also said, that the payments aren't going to be all at one time. So, they could break them down over the year. They could break them down however we chose. But because they structured it so well from start to finish, we knew how it was going to be billed, and we were happy to go ahead and pay as the bills came in. But at 10%, it was incredible.
Financially, AT&T was helping out a ton here. But when working with Progyny, members aren't only getting financial assistance. They're also getting support from our patient care advocates.
Whenever I called, I had someone that I could direct my call to every single time. The return on my questions were no more than a few hours. Returns on calls, time to take to get to the person I needed was no more than 10 to 15 minutes. So financially, it made it super affordable. Mentally, just the structure of the program, how they set it up from start to finish. They laid it all out in one 45-minute call of what to expect, how to expect, dates that we needed to call back and make sure we get those approvals through for insurance purposes and for Progyny purposes. And it was just, it was, as far as the mental preparation, because you're going through enough on the back end, on the front end, I couldn't have asked for a more pleasant experience. I'm lucky that AT&T does support that. It's definitely made me even more ride or die for the company, and the fact that they support you through it, and they even offer emotional support, physical support for you during this time too. It just makes you see a company in a different light.
So they felt extremely supported throughout the process. But IVF can be tough even when it's covered and supported in this way. People have to do injections at home, and the process can just get very stressful. And this is where Jennifer's wife came up huge.
I give 99.9% credit to my wife. She did all my scheduling. She organized all my shots. She did all my orders. She bought a box that organized everything. We had a chart that had a timing frames on it. I basically turned up to appointments. I was told when my shots were, and because she wanted to play such a big part of that, and she'd spent so much time doing the studying, I kind of let her lead on that. And I said, mentally, for me, going to appointments Monday, Wednesday, Friday for blood work, doing the retrieval, the transfer, the genetic testing, and all the other things that I did, that was, mentally that was enough for me. And then she had all the time frames for me. So definitely teamwork.
With some solid teamwork, the process was underway. And, well, I'll let Jennifer tell you.
I got 10 eggs that were retrieved. We were told from the beginning, that likelihood of them being 100%, it was about 40%, I think they said that their retrieval odds were. And 4 did take. 2 abnormal chromosomes left me with 2.
They transferred one of the 2 embryos and waited. Doctors usually want people to wait about 2 weeks before coming in for a blood pregnancy test, but Jennifer decided to do a urine test a little bit earlier than that.
It was like day 4, and I had just woken up. I had to go to work, and my wife was asleep, and I thought, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm just going to go ahead and test at home. And I took a test, and I brushed my teeth, and it came back with a line the 2 lines, I think it was. And immediately I just like bust the door open and I was just like, I think I'm pregnant. And then I like called my younger sister who stays in England still, and I was just broke down in tears. And the whole day at work, I was just kind of like, I was just in a blur because I couldn't tell anyone. And I had the 2-week blood work appointment at the fertility clinic to confirm through blood. So after that, I then had to wait because I wanted to get that blood confirmation, but I tested every day for 10 days after that for day 4, so I think I was just a little excited.
We share a lot of stories on this show where people need many transfers or even multiple rounds of IVF to reach success. But Jennifer's story is a good reminder that IVF success rates are actually quite high, upwards of 70% in some instances. So sometimes it can work out on the first try. We started this episode saying that this is a tale of teamwork, and her doctor and clinic were a huge part of that team.
I felt confident just because of the way everything was going. Memphis Fertility Clinic are absolutely amazing. They're professional, they're kind, they make you feel wanted, they make you feel like everything is not too small, nothing asked, no questions asked, and just everybody that worked there was just so easy. And the more I went there, I'm not a doctor person, I hate going. But the more I went there and the more I saw the same faces, smiley faces, hey, you know, almost on a name basis towards the end, I think it just really helped me be confident and know that they really had my best interest and they were really rooting and wanting this to work for us. So I do think that had a big part to play in it because I felt like I was accepted there. I felt like I was needed, like I was wanted.
I want to thank Jennifer for joining us today and for sharing her story. Remember, the purpose of stories like this isn't to give you a blueprint on how you can build your family, but rather to give you comfort in knowing that you really aren't alone in this journey. There are scores of people who are going through their own journeys, and while not all endings are the same, we hope you can take some solace in knowing that there are options for support out there. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to connect with us, you can do so on Instagram at This Is Infertility Podcast. If you want to follow Progyny, you can do that at Progyny Inc. Of course, if you're listening on a podcast app, please leave a rating and review. This Is Infertility is brought to you by Progyny. Please remember this podcast is not intended to substitute for the personalized expert advice of your physician. I'm Dan Bulger, and this is Infertility.